In the twilight of the Second Age, the island kingdom of Numenor stood as the pinnacle of human achievement in Middle-earth. Blessed by the Valar for their aid against Morgoth, the Númenóreans were granted wisdom, longevity, and a land of unparalleled beauty. Their white ships sailed to distant shores, and their knowledge surpassed that of all other men. Yet, beneath this grandeur, a seed of pride took root. A pride that Sauron, the master of deceit, would exploit to catastrophic ends. Sauron, having survived the First Age, resented the rise of Numenor and the prosperity of its people. As his power grew in Middle-earth, he proclaimed himself King of Men, challenging the Númenórean supremacy. This provocation could not be ignored. Ar-Pharazôn, the 25th and mightiest king of Numenor, took the bait. In a display of unmatched might, he mustered a great armada and sailed to Middle-earth to confront Sauron. Upon witnessing the sheer power of Numenor's forces, Sauron realized that open war would lead to his defeat. Instead, he chose a more insidious path. He allowed himself to be captured and taken to Numenor as a prisoner. Tolkien writes in The Silmarillion, Sauron humbled himself before Ar-Pharazôn and smoothed his tongue. And men wondered, for all that he said seemed fair and wise. Once in Numenor, Sauron's true deception began. With honeyed words and manipulation, he ascended from prisoner to chief counselor of the king. He preyed upon the Númenóreans' fear of death, stoking their envy of the elves' immortality. Sauron whispered that the Valar had deceived them, withholding the gift of eternal life. He proposed that by worshipping Melkor, whom he called the true giver of freedom, they could attain immortality themselves. Under his influence, the Númenóreans turned away from the Valar and the elves. They built a massive temple in the capital city of Armanelos, where they offered sacrifices to Melkor. The most egregious act was the cutting down of the white tree Nimloth, a symbol of their connection to the Valar. Sauron convinced Ar-Pharazôn that the tree was a token of the Valar's deceit. In secret, Isildur, heir of one of the faithful lords, risked his life to save a fruit of the tree, ensuring its lineage would survive. Sauron's manipulation reached its peak when he persuaded Ar-Pharazôn to wage war against the Valar themselves. He taunted the king, saying, "Why should we not take what is rightfully ours?" The undying lands are not forbidden to the strong. Consumed by pride and fear of mortality, Ar-Pharazôn amassed the great armament, the mightiest fleet ever assembled. As the fleet set sail towards Aman, the Valar were grieved by the folly of men. In response, they laid down their guardianship of the world and appealed to Ilúvatar, the One. Ilúvatar intervened, changing the very shape of the world. Tolkien describes this cataclysm, and Ilúvatar showed forth his power, and the world was changed. Númenor was swallowed by the sea, and the undying lands were removed from the circles of the world. The entire island nation sank beneath the waves, and with it, the pride and might of Numenor were lost forever. Sauron, who had been on Numenor during its destruction, was caught in the cataclysm. His fair form was destroyed, and he was unable to ever take a pleasing shape again. Yet his spirit endured, filled with even greater malice. He returned to Mordor, taking on the terrifying guise known in the later ages. Meanwhile, the faithful Númenóreans, led by Elendil and his sons Isildur and Anarion, had heeded the warnings and prepared for disaster. With 9 ships carrying their families, loyal followers, and treasured artifacts, including the Palantiri and the seedling of Nimloth, they were borne away by the great storm. They landed upon the shores of Middle-earth, where they established the kingdoms of Arnor in the north and Gondor in the south, preserving the legacy of Numenor. The downfall of Numenor was Sauron's greatest deception, a masterstroke of manipulation that led an entire civilization to its doom. It serves as a profound lesson on the corrupting power of pride and the peril of turning away from wisdom and humility. The Númenóreans, once the greatest of men, were undone not by force of arms, but by the insidious whispers of a master deceiver. Thank you for journeying with us through this pivotal chapter of Middle-earth's history.